Jen, you kind of specialize.
I do.
You do musical improv.
I do, yeah.
What drew you to musical improv?
Well, I'd been singing all my life. I started in children's choirs when I was a child. And when I started to do improv, I would just like do the little singing games, and it actually reminded me of Whose Line Is It Anyway? Wayne Brady was a huge fan of him. And I thought about like, what can you improvise musicals? And I actually found a program at Second City in Chicago quite a few years ago, and I took that, and that was just life-changing. It was just so, when you add music to improv, I feel like you almost get an even bigger high than just regular improv.
Oh, she's
Regular.
hooked.
I'm speaking like a snob now, but
Well, music's so powerful. So when you get musical improv, I find it's like taking improv but then putting whipped cream on it, right? It's like something that I love combined with something else that I love.
yeah, I also like it because musical theater is all about heightening reality and heightening emotion, and I'm really big into that. I love really expressing myself to the fullest capacity, and I find musical theater is really great for that, and to be able to improvise that is a huge joy.
And you've managed to find a career now. You teach musical improv.
I do, yeah. One of the things that brings the most joy to me is when people come to my class who've never sung before and think that they can't, and have told me a story that, you know, they're not the singer in their family or something like that. And then I break them through that, and they're suddenly belting out music, and they're in tune, and they're really rocking it on stage, and they have people backing up dancing for them, and they're feeling super empowered, and now realize they actually can sing. Because everyone can sing. A lot of people have this misconception that there's great singers and people who are tone deaf and can't sing. You either can or can't, and that's not true.
Are you trying to reach into the person and get something special out of them to get them to do that?
Absolutely. I like to say that singing is like fancy crying or just fancy that sounds like it's painful, but like fancy crying, fancy laughing, fancy just expression of emotion. You really have to connect to those places. So I love to bring people in touch with really who they are, and when they really express that part of themselves, the music's amazing, and the words just come more naturally, and the range they go, and their voice is bigger. It's really quite amazing work. Yeah.
Travis, have you experienced something in yourself, personal growth, from when you started improvising? Can you share that with us?
Personal growth from improvising. I couldn't possibly separate that from just the time I've been alive in the thing. You know what I mean? I don't know. Like, what would I attribute to improv? I think there's something about sharing with people and saying yes, and building that sort of group mind on stage that I think is I don't know, maybe pointing to what you're talking about in terms of personal growth, but it's hard to say. One of the reasons I started doing improv was just for that, was to have more connection with other people on stage. I was a performer, but I was a solo performer. And I wanted to know what it was like to do things with people on stage and create bigger pictures and work with different textures of emotion and that kind of a thing. So I think certainly I've seen a lot of growth in what I do on stage in terms of performance and that. And I imagine that translates into my life, but I don't know that I could be specific about how.
Have you been doing it a long time now?
I've been on stage for about 10 years, and I've been improvising for half of that. I'm an improviser. I'm a magician, first and foremost. That's my job. And I started doing improv and also clown at about the same time, which are sort of related disciplines in a way, broadly speaking. And so that's about 5 years of that. And I think both of those things, both improv and clown, have contributed somewhat to that in terms of feeling like, oh yeah, I'm stretched a little bit as a person, like even just playing characters or having access to impulses that you don't normally honor, you might say, is stretchy a little bit. So I think, and listening to people, improv, clown as well, is really focused on listening to and seeing what's happening around you and reacting to that in more flexible, fun kind of ways. I'd say maybe that's how.
And what drew you to improv? Like, what drew you to originally just start, you know what, I'm going to try this?
What drew me to improv? I thought about that a lot. I'm not really sure. I think what drew me to improv was a combination of an intuition that I would have an aptitude for it eventually, combined with the fact that I was on stage already and, like I said, wanted to stretch out a little bit and branch out my options and gain some flexibility. I had ideas for shows I wanted to do, and I felt like I didn't have the skills for those shows, and so I needed to learn about other aspects of theater than what I was doing before, just as a magician.
So you feel like this art form has made you stronger as a performer?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. I would say that improvisation, clown as well, improvisation, for the reasons that I said before, stretches me. I was finding that I had sort of like a narrow focus in performance. Not that it wasn't working. What I was doing was working, but it was getting really focused. Like in the same way that like a stand-up comic might hone their voice into something very specific, this knife edge, that's their thing now. And I felt like that was happening a bit for me, and I wasn't super into that. Like I wanted to have more freedom and flexibility because if I have ideas now that I want to do, it's more likely I can do them. Whereas before, I think if I had stayed with what I was doing, I would have been a little more stuck in that one persona that I had on stage. So yeah, that was maybe the thinking behind starting improv.
Daniel, is it 12 or 13 years now you've been doing improv?
I am honored that you would think that. I'm coming up upon my 10-year anniversary. 10-year anniversary for improv, yeah.
And you are doing all sorts of things around the city all the time.
I'm super blessed to be able to do lots of different shows with lots of different people in many different places, yeah.
And what keeps you going?
I think about that a lot. I think with any kind of creative.
That's a sad answer.
No, it is something that I do think about because, coming up into 10 years, I think whatever career field, whatever artistic outlet you're in, I think there comes a point where you think about what am I getting from this? What am I contributing to this? I think for me, right now, what I really love about the improv that I get to do here in Vancouver is, and this may sound cliche, but it is the community of people that I get a chance to work with.